Today I'll be reacting to Barges. I made Mario Kart into a Steam game. Please enjoy.
Mario Kart. It's a game we all know and love. You're either a dinosaur and played this version, or you're the absolute coolest and played these games like me.
My first experience with Mario Kart was actually Double Dash, which a friend of mine owned. I never owned a Mario Kart game myself, but I thought Double Dash was really cool, and I kind of miss having two different characters. I wish they brought that back sometime, with the special abilities and so on. That was a lot of fun.
But luckily, I make video games, and so I'm going to attempt to make my own version of Mario Kart, but just way better. And then I'm going to release it on Steam with multiplayer for free, which, you know, shouldn't be too hard.
Releasing a game on Steam is easy. You just gotta do the basic info and description, the mature content settings, the self-rating questionnaire, planned release date, system requirements, 5 or more screenshots, capsule images, library assets, support info, developer and publisher name, descriptive tags applied, platform support matches, pricing for at least one package, publishing pricing for at least one package, trailer uploaded, app configuration, at least one depot configured, at least one build configured, launch options defined, install directory set, depot language is confirmed, store and dev comp packages batch, and packages include Windows Depot. And then it's gotta follow all the rules and get it accepted and all that, but that's easy.
So, first things first, we're going to need a kart. I started off by making this small kart out of basic shapes, so that we at least have something to look at. And then I made it align with whatever surface it's above and did the same for the wheels. Then finally set up some simple code to drive it around, and that's basically all we need for the time being.
If it's in Unity, I think it might actually be faster to set up a dampener through physics themselves, rather than doing some sort of IK or whatever it would go under to make the wheels and car align with the floor, but that would be a different game, of course, and not necessarily have the same sort of gameplay, and might make you less able to do some cool game stuff later.
Next up is drifting, or to all the little Nintendo spies watching this, I like to call this power steering. Drifting was actually really simple to set up and didn't take long at all. I even got it working with controller, and there's multiple different angles of drift that you can control by steering into or away from your drift. And then when you let go, if you were drifting long enough, then you'll get a little burst of speed.
Yeah, I think personally, if I were to do it, I would probably try and see what angle you're turning at, and then just make sure you're moving forward more than a certain amount of speed, or making sure that you actually have the gas down, I guess. I wonder if it's gonna be possible to do snaking in Barty's game, because Nintendo specifically have tried to keep snaking out of Mario Kart because of balancing and how much of a skill gap it creates. Basically, the way it works is that you manage to drift on a very straight path, and then you just continuously swap which direction you do the drift after you get the Mino Turbo after power sliding.
I'm a bit tired of looking at all these cubes, and so let's make things a little prettier. I have made a car before, but I might as well not have. And so I tried modeling a Jeep from scratch. I wasn't 100% happy with it though, and so I gave it another go, and this one was far better.
SMH, all these game dev YouTubers being good at some artistry for their game, meanwhile I'm stuck only coding and programming. I really should learn some of the more artistic skills for when I do game jams, though I do usually prefer doing team jams. Oh well.
Alright, so all this talk about karts is great and all, but what's the point if we don't have a track to race around? The biggest issue we face when making a track right now is that we don't know how big the track should be. If it's too large, then the game's going to feel slow, and if it's too small, it'll feel fast, so getting this right is important. The solution to this problem lies in one of the best Mario Kart tracks ever, SNES Rainbow Road. This track is split up into squares, which means we can find the size of the player relative to a single square, and then the amount of squares per second that the kart moves. Then, using that information with some trial and error, we can move this data over to my game, provided that we have a one-to-one version of SNES Rainbow Road.
I think personally I would instead try to aim for the same amount of time to complete the map rather than the map size, and instead check how long does it take to go through the Mario Kart map if you're at the normal speed without doing any shortcuts, and then rather balance that based on how fast I expect the car to go in this game, and how many power-ups and stuff that might make you go faster I expect to get. That way, if you end up having fairly different game mechanics later, you can still balance it around the same length, because you just have to change how fast you expect the car to go, instead of figuring out like oh, is this too big, is this too small, and so on. No, well, you still have to do that, of course, but yeah, that's just me, of course. And I think in this video, it's supposed to be closer to Mario Kart anyways.
So, and after a little bit of work, I got everything ported over, improved the camera, and things were starting to look pretty good. A big issue with the kart at the moment is that you have no visual indicator when you're drifting. Nintendo's solution to this is to put sparks under the wheels, like, come on, that's just lazy. So I made a shader that scrolls some noise across the car and tints it to the corresponding color. And yeah, that looks alright.
Being able to tell when you're doing what is fairly important, which is why it's a shame that there's no indicator for whether or not you're actually grinding right then, because Nintendo also has sparks on the side for that, which then leads into the other larger sparks being there when you have grinded a certain amount, so you kind of make that connection even if you don't know it, I guess. My other worry would be that having it like that might make it a bit difficult to tell, but it looked fairly big, so maybe not. It would be cool to have like some kind of indicator of how far, like how much left you have to reach the next milestone, I guess, in speed boosts. But I don't think Nintendo has that either, so yeah.
Now, full disclosure, if you didn't already notice, I'm not trying to get sued by Nintendo here, and so this game isn't going to feature the typical cast from a Mario Kart game. Sorry, Birdo. However, I have a few characters from previous games that would work pretty well, and so I'm going to bundle them all up into Bargy Kart. Yep, I'm naming it after me.
I think this is also good from a marketing perspective, because it gives brand familiarity, and people tend to think better of something if they remember having seen it before. I don't know why, but it works. I think, for example, with Danny's videos, he usually has pretty similar characters, and I wonder if that actually helped his channel grow to some degree.
Another big thing we need in the game is items. In Mario Kart, to collect an item, you drive into an item box. Then the game rolls a random item and gives it to the driver who hit the box. But as we've established, this game is nothing like Mario Kart, and so I came up with my own completely original idea. This is something I like to call the item sphere.
Not gonna lie, out of all the Mario Kart clones I've seen, this is probably the least original model for a random item pickup. I kinda wish some of them would try to change up how you get the items. I mean, I get that it's like a tried and tested formula, and this is meant to be somewhat closer to a clone, but it would be cool to see like some alternative way of getting items than just, oh yeah, there's these pickups on the ground that you can drive through. I mean, even Mario Kart has moving ones, they have double ones sometimes, I don't know. But of course, Bargy was pretty short on time at this point, so I guess it makes sense to go with something tried and tested rather than to make something completely new right then.
So now you can drive into a sphere and it'll roll you one of 4 in-game items. Now, what are these items, you may ask? Well, first off is the traffic cone, which you can place behind you, and any players who drive into it will be stopped for about a second. Next up is the boost. This one is pretty self-explanatory, to be honest, you just go fast. Then we have a laser, which is a hit scan weapon that shocks the target and stops them for a couple of seconds. And then finally we have the rocket, which is my favourite. This weapon is only available if you're in 3rd place or lower, and when used will target 1st place and stop them for 3 seconds. When it hits them, it also causes a big cloud of blue smoke, which obstructs the vision of those following the leader.
I do think that's a pretty balanced set of weapons to choose between. Having the bananas for when you're ahead, having the boost for whenever, having the hit scan as some offensive weapon that's short range, and obviously the blue shell clone. I do think it's smart that he didn't pick the green shell, because obviously there's no walls, so there wouldn't be anything to bounce off. The red shell would have required pathfinding, which is annoying, and obviously Bargy decided to not use the pathfinding for the blue shell and just have it go straight up and straight down on the opponents, which also reduces the workload. And I feel like that covers the core items of Mario Kart and probably will make this kart fun to play.
Remember before when I said this? Nintendo's solution to this is to put sparks under the wheels, like, come on, That's just lazy. Yeah, so I added sparks. All right, so the game works now. However, it still looks kind of tacky and there isn't much to do.
And still no indicator that you're charging up the drift before you actually hit that first charge point.
So I started on the tracks. I love mushrooms. Wait, no, I've made no secret of my love for them, adding them into basically all of my games over the last couple of years, and so I really wanted to make a mushroom-themed map. And for an added bonus, Nintendo have never made a mushroom track, which makes this all the better. So I started off by designing the track in Photoshop. Once I got something that I liked, I modeled it using curves in Blender and created a mesh from it. Then I made some terrain follow the road and imported this into Unity, and okay, that was kind of bad. So I created a new shader for the ground and plumped up the environment with a new skybox and some mountains. Then I scattered mushrooms and trees absolutely everywhere, but for some reason decided it wasn't enough and added even more mushrooms. And so here you can see the map in action with a cool little fly down effect. Came up with that myself, and yeah.
It turned out quite nice, honestly. I like how soft it looks despite being so low poly.
I followed a similar process for the second map, which was a haunted town. And as you can see, here is that track.
I really like the use of fog in this map. It really gets the mood of the spooky mood going. Though I feel the map is missing some props, like the mushrooms in the last stage. That just makes it feel more alive, or more dead, I guess, in the case of ghost area, spooky area. But maybe that was in the game but just wasn't shown in the video. I haven't played it, unfortunately.
And then the final track I wanted to do is something like Rainbow Road, and so I came up with the genius idea of just removing the rainbow from Rainbow Road. So here is Road, or more specifically, the Glass Road.
I assume at this point Bargy was just trying to get the stage out and get, due to having been low in time, because I don't know, I think the stage looks a tiny bit ugly. Personally, I would probably at least use a shader that doesn't overlap the transparency, so that you don't get those weird edges in between every layer on the stage. Or just remove the faces that are hidden, of course. I mean, the whole aesthetic of Rainbow Road is the rainbow, so if you take the rainbow away, you need something else to replace it with, right?
Wait, but who is that on the track? Introducing Monkey. This little fella is from my game Berg, and is also my new YouTube profile picture if you're wondering why that changed. And he drives a Formula 1 banana. I also added Sigmoid, an alien from a really old game that me and Polymars made called Wind Up Racing. And then this game needs an original character as well, so may I present to you, Egbert.
Love this, great character design. I have no more comments.
The final thing we need in this game is sound effects and music. I got my friend Context to whip up a little song for the mushroom level, and you can hear that being played in the background right now.
Music and sound effect is so important. It's honestly a shame that when I do personal projects or small one-person game jams, that's usually what I skip doing. I really should start using sound effects more.
So yeah, the game is available for free on Steam and it's called Bargy Kart. It also works on the Steam Deck, I think. I've tried it a little bit and it seems to be okay.
Speaking of games that work on the Steam Deck, check out Rob Riches. We haven't actually tested it on the Steam Deck yet, but hopefully we get to do that next week. It should work. It has native Linux support, so oh, and it works with Proton. So yeah, check out Rob Riches on Steam. Ha. Just gotta sneak in the self-promo there.
But please expect a lot of bugs. I am a one-man team, and if you do find any bugs, then hop into my Discord server and report them there. And to be completely transparent with you, if you guys have a terrible internet connection, then you're probably gonna lag a lot. So make sure you're playing with people around you. And for once, I'm actually not burnt out from this project, which is weird, and so I'm open to making another video and updating the game. So if you want more maps and stuff, then make sure to show your support by liking and subscribing, and leave your comments down below.
Do make sure to check out Bargy, link to the video in the description, and also to Bargy's Twitter, where Bargy is currently making one game every day for 26 days, and I think they're each based on a letter of the alphabet, so do check Bargy out. Since the video wasn't that technical, I obviously did not have that much to comment on, as I usually do, and that's obviously great for YouTube, but I might have to start changing how I do React content, who knows. I'm still figuring out what I want my channel to be like, but if you want to follow me for that journey, please subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.